Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. This is Salim Khan with the TEESI Engineering, and with me is Joey Pham. We're going to start in a minute. Some people are logging in, so we'll give them a minute or so to log in, and then we'll get going. We'll put it on mute for just a couple of 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get started. All right, we'll get started. And this presentation, we're going to tag team this presentation. It'll be me, Salim, and then Joey. I'll go over a couple of slides, basically give you all an overview and so forth, and then we'll just go from there. So I'd like to welcome everybody, and this is a presentation that's we're doing it under the SECO Schools and Local Government Program. And this is the program which provides energy technical assistance to school districts, cities, and counties, and any public entity that requests the help for it. So it's a free service available to schools and local governments across the state of Texas. So this presentation is part of that. A couple of housekeeping items. There's a video recording and a PDF of the presentation. It will be provided and will be available later on. There might be a couple of polling questions, and I think one comes up immediately, so we'll look into that aspect of it. And then if there are any questions and so forth, you can type it into the chat, and then we will try to allocate some time at the end of this presentation for 5 or 10 minutes over there, where we could answer any questions and go over some items that we need to go over. So the first polling question, I think, is how familiar are you with Energy Star Portfolio Manager? So we'll give everybody, seconds to answer that, and then once everybody's answered it, then we'll just go from there.
All right, so we're going to close the polls.
Good. So
we'll just share that.
And so it looks like 60% of the participants said we're not familiar. 20% said somewhat familiar, and then 20% say they're comfortable with it or have used it before, it looks like. So that's good. All right. So that gives us a little bit of baseline that we could then dig into some of these items in a little bit more detail if we need to. So one of the things I wanted to just go over, just a little background information and overview of the presentations. One of the things that I will be briefly covering is the performance indices, which are called the Energy Utilization Index, also EUI, or Energy Cost Index, which is ECI. So we'll give some background on that because that's an important baseline that everyone needs to kind of have a good feel for it, so we can develop the baselines and so forth based on those indices. We'll have a discussion on the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. It'll give you a broad overview of how the structure is, how it works, and different aspects of it. We might have 2 or 3 slides on how to do an upload, a bulk upload, and we'll discuss some of those items and how to kind of efficiently do data entry on the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And we'll leave around about 5 or 10 minutes at the end to do some question and answers, or answer any questions that you all may have. So we have another poll questions. For which aspect do you use Energy Star Portfolio Manager? Mark all that apply.
Okay, maybe about 10 more seconds before we close the polls. All right.
Closing the poll. And we share the results over there. So
It looks like everyone here who responded is using it for benchmarking and required reporting. And looks like most of y'all use it for the setting the goals, the energy performance comparison, and building certification. So that's pretty good.
yeah. Okay, so let's go over the one of the fundamentals of any energy management and for benchmarking, which is energy utilization index. And the other one is called the energy cost index. So the energy utilization index basically is annual energy use in BTUs per square foot. In Portfolio Manager, they use K BTUs per square foot per year. And the reason for that K is that if you just look at the BTU term, there are a lot of zeros associated with it. So the K is for 1,000. So they multiply the BTUs by 1,000. And as a result of it, you get K BTUs, which is 1,000 BTUs. So in Portfolio Manager, you will see, items like 68 kBTU per square foot or 28 kBTUs per square foot. In reality, the 68 is 68,000 BTUs per square foot. So it's just a way to kind of make it more, you can relate to things that have got less zeros, I guess. That's the reason they've done it in Portfolio Manager. Now, the reason everything is converted into BTUs is that you may have a facility that has got electric consumption, they may have natural gas, propane, or some other source. So what the BTUs does, it kind of normalizes it. It takes all those energy consumption units and converts into BTUs. So you have 1 unit, so which will be a measure of how much energy you're using, all the energy that you're using at that facility. So that's the background behind using the BTUs, which stands for British Thermal Units, basically. So that's an important index that everyone needs to be very familiar with. The next one is energy cost index, and everyone is pretty much familiar with this thing. And all it is that you take the annual energy cost and then divided by the square foot for that facility. So you may have different buildings and they have different energy cost indices. And the good thing with this thing is that you can look at that and you can prioritize where do you want to spend your resources, basically by looking at buildings across your district or your cities and county facilities, basically. So one thing I want to just kind of emphasize is that although you should be looking at energy cost index because almost everyone can relate to that, but it is very important to look at the energy utilization index also, because you want to make sure that when you are doing projects or implementing energy performance measures over there, you want to compare actually the energy reductions over there, and that has an impact on how you program and how the program is successful or not successful. So the energy utilization index is an important one. The energy cost index is also an important one, and to which a lot of people could relate to. So you look at both of them in the end and then make your decisions on which buildings you all need to focus on. So what is a portfolio manager? Basically, this was developed by EPA and Department of Energy as part of the Energy Star program. And it's an online energy and water tracking tool. So a portfolio manager really is available at no cost, free, available to everybody. And it compares to the national database, which is called CBACS, of the building of similar type, climate, and usage. So it kind of normalizes. It has got built-in features in the back, which normalizes for weather and so on and so forth. And then it compares you across the U.S. for similar building types and the climate and use it basically. So the important thing out of this one is that it actually a benchmark score of 1 to 100. So you could have a score of anywhere between 1 and 100, and it gives you that score based on the data that you have entered. Scores above 75 may be eligible for Energy Star building label. So that's important to realize that anytime you have a building that you want to do a certification, and by the way, we have this afternoon another session that goes into details of the certification process. But anytime you want to certify your buildings, you need to have a minimum score of 75, basically. Something to keep in mind is that even though you may have a high score, that does not mean that there are not energy savings opportunities. There are always energy savings opportunities, but this is usually a good benchmark that kind of gives you can prioritize the buildings and you can hit your low scoring buildings and then move on basically to the next stage. So not all building types are eligible for Energy Star score, and then there's a web link over there that you can click on, and it'll give you details on which buildings are eligible and what's the criteria for that. And that is all. I think we'll cover that later on in a little bit more detail also. And it calculates the EUI, ECI for all the buildings. Okay? So primarily, I wanted to just pass it on to Joey right now, when he'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to get started, what to look for, and how to keep track of these things. One thing I wanted to just make sure is that this presentation is mostly to give you a broad overview and get you a little bit more familiar with the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. A lot of time you need to actually have a practice on how to use this Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and if you all have that interest, then we sometimes do this as part of this program. You can send an email request up, and then we can do a one-on-one training on how to use Energy Star Portfolio Manager, answer any questions that you all may have. So with this, I'm going to pass it on to Joey Pham, and he'll continue from here.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So when you're getting started creating Portfolio Manager, if you're not familiar with it, one of the first things to do is to set up a team and assign roles to who is going to be responsible for what. So I think someone is going to need to know the login credentials. Obviously, you'll need to create the account, and someone will have to be responsible for entering in all of your buildings and information about the buildings and keeping the energy data up to date. So that may require monthly updates for whenever the utility bills come in, or you can actually set up automated processes to upload the data directly to your facilities. You'll need to establish utility account representatives and possibly assign someone from the accounting to take care of that. Other things is you can actually connect with other people that are on Portfolio Manager, so that way you can share information and send building information back and forth between each other. And that would allow you to have perhaps a third-party company that manages your utility bills to update your Energy Star for you. So with each facility, you'll need to enter the information for each building. That could be electric, natural gas, propane, or any other kind of heating fuel. And you can also fill in water data, which is not required, but that's optional, as well as the electric demand, which is a relatively new feature on Portfolio Manager. It's not required. So the structure of Portfolio Manager, you have your overall portfolio, and that could be for the city or your school district or your county or whatever your institution may be. And then going down from that portfolio, you have different groups. So for example, if you were a school district, you could have your elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools grouped separately, or any of your administrative or support services buildings grouped separately from all the other facilities. So that way you can filter out and only look at specific subgroups If you are a city, you can have, for example, your public works or your libraries or your fire departments, police stations grouped separately. So that way, if you have a lot of buildings in your portfolio, you can easily group and filter out different facility types that are common. So under the groups, you'll have your properties, which are each of the buildings that y'all manage. It could be a number of different types of things. And then within each property, you have the usage details or the facility information. And then also one of the key things is the meters to capture all of the energy usage. And then you can also set the goals for each specific facility. So to create an account, we provided a link here. It's Portfolio Manager at .Energy Star. And then it's pretty simple. You just follow the setup prompts. And so we've included some graphics here that just kind of show you what it might look like. When you create the account, a notification will pop up and ask if you want to enable searchability in Portfolio Manager. And so you can select yes or no if you want to keep your account kind of private. But we recommend you say yes, so that way you can connect with other people and possibly share some of your facilities. And it just makes some of these usage and functionality a little bit easier if you select yes. But of course, you can go back in and adjust this setting later on. So at this point of the presentation, we just wanted to kind of go over some of the key features and where to click on the user interface when you're in Portfolio Manager and just how to navigate through it. So over here, we're just showing you where to click. This is the main portfolio page. If you want to add a property, we've had this is where you would go. And then there's a drop-down menu over here where you can select your different groups after you create them. There's a notification bar, kind of like on other social media. Whenever you have any notifications about your properties or messages from Energy Star or from other people you've connected with, you'll get notifications at the top. And then within each property, you'll be able to select a drop-down menu that has different actions that you can take with each of these facilities. That could be updating the information, correcting some old information, or anything like that. So we'll just move on. So after we select a building, for this example, we have building A. This is what will show up. And you have a number of tabs which compose the property information. And over in the top right corner of the screen, it'll actually show you your Energy Star score after you filled in your information. So if you do qualify for a score, if the facility type is one that qualifies for a score, then it'll display that as well as the baseline score versus a current score. So if you have information over a certain period of time, then you may have multiple here. And as we get into it, I'll show you where you can set your baselines and some other information that's provided in Energy Star. So on the bottom over here, I'll show you your benchmark summary, and you can actually kind of change this up and customize it to show certain information that you're more interested in. But the default setting will show you your score and the EUIs, as Salim discussed earlier. And so it actually provides you the site EUI, which is the EUI at the facility, and then also a source EUI, which is the EUI or the amount of energy that it takes to generate to get that energy to your building, as well as any greenhouse gas emissions that are estimated based on the energy usage. So one of the next tabs is the Details tab. This is where you would go to fill in specific information about your unique facility. So over here on the left, the basic information window, there's an edit button. And if you go into there, that's where you would enter in your square footage, percent occupancy, the facility type, if it's a campus or if it's just a single building. If you have multiple buildings on that campus, then you can set that designation there. And just note that, this is the self-reported square footage. And then also in the other property use details, there's another field where you can put the gross floor area as well, and note that these might not match. And if you are applying for certification later on, you may want to make sure that the square footage or the gross floor area in this field actually matches with the basic information that you self-reported. Over here in this drop-down menu, whenever you open these details, you'll see that there's a little star next to each of these facility information. And the star indicates that that is actually used to calculate the Energy Star score. So some of these things, it's required, but it does not go into the calculation or the algorithm for the Energy Star score calculation. But this drop-down menu over here, this is where you can edit information or you can update information. For example, when COVID-19 started, some buildings actually changed their operation. So the number of staff or the hours of operation may have changed. And so you can go in and you can edit some of that detail using these functions and features here. So this is a bigger view of the property details. So this one is specifically, I think, a school, or actually this is just a generic form. And so we just wanted to show you what it looks like. And one of the features of Portfolio Manager is if you hover over each of these property use details, a window will pop up and give you a more broad description of each of these items. So if you're not familiar or you're not sure what exactly they're asking for or what they want you to fill in, you just hover over each one, it'll tell you a little bit more information. And as I mentioned before, anything with this little blue star next to it is used to calculate the score. And then you may also want to note that they also have check boxes where you can fill in temporary values. So if you don't have that information on hand right now, then you can use a temporary value, then you can go back and update that. And other information where if you're not sure, you can use a default, such as the number of computers. So if you're in a school and you just have way too many computers and you don't know, then you can use a default value, which is fine. But I think if you are wanting to pursue a certification, then you're going to need to update that. Make sure you don't use any defaults. You'll need to use your best estimates of what the actual quantities are for any of these types of details. And just note that different facility types or building types will actually have different property use details. For example, an office building will have different use details required compared to a school or a fire station or a police department or library and so on. So the very next tab is the energy meters. So this is a very important one, and this is where you're going to track all of your data. So over here, we have a button that we call out that this is where you go to create a meter, and then within that number of windows will pop up, and you can select what the meter type is or what the energy type is, and then you can name your meter, or you can just have Energy Star assign a number to it. And then there will be an area where you can enter your bills. We'll show you what one of those forms looks like. And let's see, there's also some charts that are automatically generated up here, and that'll, after you've entered your bills for a certain amount of time or for a certain time period, it'll show you some of the graphs of the trends of how your data or energy use has been over time. And then you can also edit some of your meters after you've created them. So one thing to note is that it's important to make sure that you have all of the energy meters on your property tracked on Portfolio Manager if you're wanting to pursue certification, or if you just want to have an accurate EUI and ECI benchmarking of your facility that you capture all of the energy meters. So if you have multiple electric meters on the property, that they're all entered on here. And another thing to note is you're actually able to deactivate meters. So if you do have multiple meters, but say certain building or certain part of the building is no longer used and the meter is inactive, then you can actually set the meter to be inactive and it won't be used after that time period in the energy calculation for your Energy Star score or your EUI. So as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to create a new meter, this is kind of what pops up. You'll have some of these options where you can select where you're sourcing some of your energy from, or for electricity specifically here. if you purchase from the grid or if you get it from on-site solar or wind. So you can actually designate those. And this can actually also track green energy. So if you're purchasing the electricity from the grid from green sources, that you can actually designate that as well, and then you can keep track for credits and things of that nature. If you have a chilled water meter for a plant, then you can actually create that or like a sub meter here as well. And then whenever you create these different meters, you can select the types of units to track those meters. And what I recommend is that you use the same units that appear within your bills. That might make things a little bit easier. So there's less worry of any errors happening when converting the numbers in your bills, especially if you use an automated system or automated processes. So that way the units of measurement are correct whenever that's transferred over. Another important thing to note is for gas specifically. I think a lot of people in the industry use MCF to mean 1,000 cubic feet of gas, but in Energy Star, KCF is used to designate 1,000, and MCF actually, for Energy Star purposes, is 1,000,000 cubic feet. So that's just something to keep in mind. So if you're normally categorizing your gas in MCF, if you enter MCF into Energy Star, it may overestimate that by an order of magnitude of 1,000. So this is what, after you create your meter, this is what it may look like. At the top, you'll have a drop-down menu where it can show you your basic meter information, and you can edit that as well. But then this is, I guess, kind of the meat and potatoes of it, is whenever you open each meter, you'll have your date ranges, so that could be corresponding to your bills, and then you can enter your energy usage or electric consumption for that month, as well as the costs associated. And as I mentioned earlier, you can designate green power if it is purchased from a green source. And then the demand is available here for you to track, but it's optional. So there's over here, it kind of shows you where if you want to add another entry, it'll just open up one additional line, and then you can fill in. So for example, if you have a new bill come in, you can create one line and do that once a month, or you can actually there's a way that you can fill in multiple months if you want to do this quarterly, or if you want to do it annually. You can upload multiple monthly entries all at once. Also at the top, you can filter out different years. So if you have this information going back several years and you don't want to see that, it's kind of cluttering your screen, you can just filter out the specific year that you want.
So this is Salim. One important thing over there, although the demand is optional, I would strongly recommend that if you all have demand in your billing, that you put that information in. It's good for tracking purposes, and the reason for that is that those who have demand charges included in their billing, usually 30 to 40% of your bill would be directly as a result of demand that you create. So I think although it's not used for scoring or anything like that, but it is an important piece of information, and I would strongly encourage that everyone put the demand cost and the actual demand data that's being built into your portfolio manager.
Thank you, Salim. Some other things to note that I would recommend, since we work with Energy Star a lot, is as far as these date ranges go for your monthly meter entries, I recommend that you actually use the same date range that appears within your bill. That may help simplify some of this whenever it comes to certification. I think because if you are not entering the date ranges as they appear on your bill, then you may need to do some calculations to correct the amount of usage for that month. I think most bills for the electricity, they don't actually come in on the 1st and end on the 31st. It's usually somewhere in between the months and cross between months, or they span multiple months typically. So it may be easier to just use the date ranges that appear as they are on the bill. And then later on in the presentation, we'll kind of go over the bulk upload feature where we'll actually create, we'll show you where you can create a spreadsheet. You can download it directly from Energy Star with the template, and then all you do is you can fill it in. So if you have your information on a spreadsheet already, you can just copy and paste that into this spreadsheet provided by Energy Star, and then upload that, and it will populate your energy meters pretty quickly and easily. So one of the next tabs over here in your for each specific building is setting goals. So on this tab over here, this is where you can go ahead and set your baseline, which would you can select when you want that to be. So if you want it to be 2016 or even 2020 or whatever year you want, you can set your baseline there, or you can have Energy Star set it for you automatically. And this is where you can also set up targets as well for where you want your facility to go. So with the targets, you can select it as a Energy Star score if that's what you want to try to attain. So if you have a current score, under 75 and you're trying to reach 75, you can enter that in, and it'll kind of show you, where you stand and where you need to get to in order to reach a score of 75. Or you can actually select a % improvement if you don't particularly care about the score. So for example, if you want a 5 or 10% improvement each year, then you can set that as a goal as well. Or if you have a long-term goal, maybe 5 years, then you can set that as well, and then you can track the progress towards that using this tab.
So this is an interesting and important feature over there. That way you can look at where you are and where do you want to be, and then if you're implementing some projects or you're doing certain activities, you can go look at those activities and relate to how you stand on the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So I think it's good for target setting and then a goal setting basically, and then you need to come up with a plan how to achieve that target, and that way you can track it.
So this is just showing you an example of, if you click on the setting goals and baselines, this is what would actually look like. So over here, you can select the baseline, and then with the drop-down menu, you can choose, what month and year, or you can just let Portfolio Manager do it automatically. These are just simple check boxes, and you can select which one you want. And then same thing, right below it, you have your Energy Star target, and you can set it as a % or the score, and then what score or % in particular that you're trying to reach. And you can just make sure that you click save, and then that'll set those goals for you. One thing to note is that in order to have a baseline, you have to have a full calendar year or 12 months of actual energy usage or consumption to establish a baseline. So if this is a brand new facility that you built and you only have a couple months worth of energy bills or energy meter entries, then you won't be able to get the baseline until a full year has been entered. So we have another poll question here. Have you used the bulk upload function on Portfolio Manager? So we'll go ahead and put that poll up. All right, so we're going to close the poll in about 5 seconds. All right, so it looks like a majority of you, or if not all that responded, said you've never used the bulk upload feature. So I'm kind of glad. So we'll kind of go over that and how it works and how you can create and use that. So to start off, whenever you're in your portfolio and you go to your main page or the home page, there's this menu on the left here where it says upload and or update multiple properties. So this is where you would click to start creating a bulk upload template. And then once you're in this screen, after you click that, it'll show you all the different meters you have or different spreadsheet templates that you have, and some that you have uploaded in the previously, and if there's any issues with them, it would show up here. It would show you the status. So if there were any issues or problems with it, at least you would be alerted to it. So that way you know that you can go and correct some of those problems. One thing that's really important is that even Energy Star, they provide this warning sign here that this is a powerful feature. So you have to be kind of careful when you're filling this out. Once you upload it, it can overwrite some of the other information that you had on there previously. So you want to make sure that all the information is correct, so you don't have any mistakes with the date ranges or the meter assignments. So if you enter in the spreadsheet the bills for the wrong facility, it might overwrite what you have already. So there's no way to undo it or to easily correct it. You may have to go in and re-upload another spreadsheet, or just kind of go back in and fix it manually. So just be careful whenever you do a bulk upload to kind of check everything before you upload that template. So over here on the right, there's another window. This is where you can create new templates, and we'll show you what those look like. Whenever you create the new template, you can select which meters you want or which bills, etc., things like that. So whenever you're creating a new template, custom template, this is the screen that would pop up. So you can select, which or what you want to do. What are you trying to do? If you're trying to add bills to existing meters, or if you're trying to add meters to new properties or existing properties. So there's different options of what you can do. You can create for a new template, and you can actually have multiple templates saved on your portfolio. So whenever you want to do a certain task, that those templates, you don't have to create a new one every time. You can just have different ones saved for their different tasks. Over here, you can select which properties to include in certain templates. So that way you don't have to worry about if you have some that are already well defined and you just need to update one or two or several of them, then you can customize this to show which properties you want to get updated, as well as what meter or what energy use information. You can select which ones as well. And then whenever you're done configuring what you want to use, you can just create and download the template. It'll be in Excel format, and then it's much easier to use, and you can copy and paste from other sources if you have other sources of the energy data. So this is an example just showing you what the spreadsheet may look like after you've created your template and downloaded it. We wanted to show you some of the key information that's shown here. So any of these grayed out columns here or cells, those are kind of pre-populated by Energy Star, so you don't have to adjust those. And they'll actually populate with information that is as entered on Portfolio Manager. So some of these, the date ranges may already be there, and that just shows you some of the existing information that you may have already had entered. The green columns with the white cells, that's where you would enter your information. So that's where you would enter stuff that you're going to use to update. And then if you highlight on any of these cells, it may actually provide instructions for specifically what they want you to enter there, or what format as well. So if you're not sure, you can just hover over the cells and it can provide some background information for you. So after you fill out your bulk upload template, you can upload the spreadsheet in this area over here. Same thing, you go to your main portfolio, and then on the left bar, there's a place to upload the templates. And then there's this drop down over here. You can select which one, and then you can choose the file from wherever you saved on your computer. And then once it's there, when you press the upload button, it'll go ahead and send it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's a status window that'll show you, if it's in progress of the upload, or if it's successful, or if there were any issues, it would show up over here in this window.
So if you go back, so really, once you have entered all your stuff in the Portfolio Manager setup and you want to use the bulk upload feature, once you click on that, it will download this Excel file for you, basically, right? And if you have some information already, it will be entered over there. The other you can enter yourself, and if you've got multiple locations and so forth, you can enter all that data manually, and then I guess just press one button after that and then upload it, basically, right?
Yes.
Is that and is it done monthly, or how frequently do you need to do it? Yes.
So really, you can do it as however you want. So if you like to take time between updating your portfolio manager, maybe a couple months or even maybe 6 months, quarterly, then you can do this once every so often, so that way you're not having to do this once a month. But if you want to do it once a month, that's fine too. You can have all of your facilities in your portfolio on this template, and then you can upload all of them in one go instead of clicking on each property and updating them individually one at a time. So another one of the features we wanted to show you or talk to you about is the reporting feature. So this is something that's nice about Energy Star, is that there's a number of different types of reports that you can create and generate based on your portfolio. And so at the top here, it shows you, so these are some of the default reports that Energy Star has, but you can also create custom reports based on information that you may find relevant or what you are looking for specifically. And I think in the subsequent slide, we'll actually show you a list of what that may look like. But over here, we just wanted to show you, on the right, they have some of the other more popular reports to download, or frequently or common reports to download, such as the Statement of Energy Performance, or an SEP. So some local governments may have requirements, I guess specifically for like the housing and urban development. They may need a SEP for certain buildings as a requirement for certain jurisdictions. So that one may be a common one that people work with. And the SEP is just the energy usage that has to be certified by a licensed professional for a certain building. And then there's a number of different reports that you can use here. And really just click on that, and then it'll provide you with all the information about your facilities. So as I mentioned, you can create new custom templates, and I'll show you what they look like. So if you open the custom template, there'll be a multitude of different options to choose from. So up to 50 different metrics can be selected in each custom report. So there's way more than 50 different options, but I think each report can have up to 50 items in each report, and they'll be coming out as spreadsheets, I believe. So one or some facilities can be included. You can actually select which facilities you want to create the reports for. It's one of the options. So if you have multiple buildings or multiple groups, you can filter through those and just select which ones you want to be in your custom report. And then after you save your report, if you want to come back later on and edit it, you can do that. These reports are saved, or the templates are saved, and so you can edit it. So if you generate a report for your elementary schools and later on you want the same report but for your high schools, you can just quickly edit that and then regenerate it, so you don't have to create it from scratch every time.
So it looks like that there are, like, look at the energy performance matrix. You can do the baseline dates. You can do the Energy Star score, basically. You can do the national median site energy use. So a lot of options over there that you could select. So you need to select one of those that you would be using over a period of time. That way you will have a consistent reports if you want to generate reports and present those reports, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of different information that you can generate. So this is pretty powerful and it's very useful. All right, yeah, we'll just move on from here. So a little bit earlier, we talked about the Statement of Energy Performance. So this is something that is required in certain jurisdictions, but I think if you are looking to certify your building, this is an important document for Energy Star certification as well as LEED. So if you're pursuing LEED certification, then this may be one of the prerequisites that you need. And just in general, you need to have a score of 75 to qualify for either of these. One of the things to note is that for the Statement of Energy Performance, the utility data entered in Portfolio Manager for that specific facility it must be within 120 days of the submitted date of this form. So it can't be more than 3 months old or so, 4 months old. So on-site confirmation. So the statement of energy performance, it requires the licensed professional to go to the site, perform a site survey to verify some of the building data that's entered on there in compliance with lighting and ventilation codes. Again, this is something that must be verified by a licensed professional. That could be a registered architect or a professional engineer.
And we go into this in the second phase, what the details are. So the verification by the licensed professional is one of the last item that needs to be done. But the on-site verification is typically done by a representative of a licensed professional. And we go into that into the second phase of this afternoon, go into more details on the Energy Star certification process. What does it involve, and all the details associated with it.
All right. So for some of the closing items we want to kind of go over with y'all, I know this may have been a lot of information to take in, but just rest assured that there's a lot of resources out there that can help you navigate through Energy Star. So this is a tool that's been around for a while, and it's been developed and updated all the time by the DOE and Energy Star team. So there's a lot of training materials available on their website. They have the help glossaries for definitions that provide pretty good information on what specifically they're asking for or what they're talking about. Some definitions may be more technical, and so some things may vary according to what the industry is typically what you would think of, but it's very clear and concise if you look at their definitions and their glossary, so you'll know what they're asking for in that particular case. Some of the advantages of Energy Star Portfolio Manager we want to kind of reiterate with y'all is the utility tracking, the benchmarking, the goal setting, and then certification or lead if you're pursuing that. And then it's also a very valuable planning tool.
So that's something that we need to, you may have different goals for using the Energy Star Portfolio Manager, but it could really hit on all these, and you can easily generate these reports. It requires a little bit of practice basically, and using it. It can become a little bit frustrating in the beginning, but that's where you can use the help tool, or you can also call us and as part of this program, and then we can go answer if you have any questions, one-on-one questions, or if you need any help on this particular aspect of it. We can provide that technical assistance as part of the SECO program. So that's something just to keep in the back of your mind, that you have a resource to go to. Sometimes those help tools on the net and so forth are not very easy to navigate, and it helps if you have a live person kind of assisting you with that. So just keep that in the back of your mind, that this is you can always reach our office and we can assist you with that as part of the SECO program.
All right, so we're just sharing some of this contact information over here. So if you do want to reach out to us or to SECO's program manager, her name's LaShawn Manis. This is some information here that so you can reach out to us or to them, as well as some of the websites. And at this point, looks like we do have some time left. Does anyone have any questions? You can just enter it into the chat.
Or they can speak it up.
Oh, yeah, I think. Can we unmute people? Yes, so it looks like Kristen has a question. Let me see if I can unmute you. All right, Kristen, I think you've been unmuted, so you can ask away.
Mic works. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, we have several campuses between natural gas and electricity where they have, we call it a shared meter. It serves multiple campuses. Do I enter that as essentially one campus and just add all of the square footage together? How would that affect the rating?
Yes, I think that would be the proper way to do it. And I think if that's what the case is in actuality, then yes. I think whenever you create that facility on Portfolio Manager, you can enter it in as a campus. and then you can put the square footage of the respective buildings in there, if I'm not mistaken, or you can do.
Good.
Yep. Yep. And we.
Okay, so we have one campus with sub buildings then that are technically other campuses, and then even though I just have one data source for that entire grouping.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks
Okay.
you may have a two elementary schools next to each other, or maybe a high school or an elementary school, and sometimes they used to have, for cost saving purposes, they would have one meter that's kind of serving both of them, and
Yes.
that's the kind. Okay, yeah, all right. So, but the issue over there would be in the certification process, right? You can use it for, but in the certification process, we may have to provide some more explanation or break it up some more. They may require sub-metering for certification at that point.
Yeah, if you're only wanting to certify one of the buildings on that campus, then that may require metering. But I think that as long as you might actually be able to certify the whole campus as a whole, if all of the energy usage for that campus has been captured and all the square footage of the respective buildings has been captured as well. And then if the score is above 75 and then all those building use details have been verified, then that I think that would still be okay. But I think my recommendation for at least benchmarking it would be to make sure that you capture the square footage of all the buildings that the meter serves.
Okay.
As well as any other energy usage on that campus.
Okay. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, LaShawn.
Of course, and any renewables as well. That should also be captured on your portfolio manager if y'all have renewable generation, such as solar or wind power.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Does anyone else have any questions?
Looks like we're doing good on time, and so we do have another couple of minutes, but we can always stop a little early. Well, if there are no more questions, I think we want to just let you all know that the SECO Schools and Local Government Program is available to assist local governments and schools across the state of Texas. It is a free service available to the public entities, and you can always reach out to them or reach out to us, basically, and we can see what your needs are and then custom solution for you over there. The afternoon program is going to be also an important one and goes in line with what we're discussing right now, which is a certification process and what is required for certification. I'll go into details on that and give you a good overview of the general understanding of the certification process. That way, if you plan on doing some of the certifications for recognitions, then you will have a pretty good idea of what's needed and how to go about doing that. So with that, if there are no more questions.
Yeah, I think we can end early. And just as a reminder.
2 minutes early.
Yeah, a little bit. So you can go ahead and take lunch. We'll send out the slides where you can download them. I think it should be an email sent out through the GoToMeeting services or GoToWebinar services. And of course, you can send us an email if you have any specific questions afterwards, or if there's anything that you're wanting, such as the SECO service request forms, we can provide that. I think it's also on here where you can download them from the handout section. Or anything else like that. But we thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it, and hope to see you in the later afternoon session.
Thank you.
Take care.